Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and yes, I realize I've been gone for a right good while. It's probably been close to a couple months since I produced my last video. Uh, Nothing major wrong, just been kind of tied up. Had some good events and a not so good event happen in my life, and I won't bore you with a whole lot of details except to say that my daughter and grandson that had been living with us for over a year finally found them a house, bought it, and of course we had to get them moved there. I don't know how it is at y'all's in your area, but around here it's definitely a seller's market. She'd see houses go on the market, and in less than 24 hours, there'd be 2 or 3 offers pending on it. So it was a rather long, drawn-out ordeal for her to find a house, but she's found a nice house, and we've got her moved into it. Uh, the other, another, not the other, but another good thing that kind of came about over the last couple of months is wife and I got to take a little vacation. We had planned to go out west again this year. We went to northern Arizona last year, spent a week, and had a wonderful time out there. This year we kind of hoped to go to fly into Las Vegas, go catty corner from the southwest to the northeast corners of Utah, see some of the national parks there, wind up in Denver, maybe drive up to Wyoming, and just explore the some of the west. But that didn't work out this year with COVID and not wanting to get on an airplane. Or reluctant to get on an airplane to a degree. We decided to postpone that trip for a little while. But we took a trip up to the North Carolina mountains and spent a week up there. Got to see a lot of the sites that I hadn't visited since I was a child. Some of the off out of the way sites. We had a real good time with that. And then the one event that was really tragic that has taken up some of our time and kind of got me out of the mood to do much of anything. My brother-in-law, which my wife's sister's husband. My wife has 2 sisters, and those and their husbands and my wife and myself have always been real close ever since we all married. There's only about 4 years difference between the oldest sister and the youngest. But my wife's oldest sister's husband contacted COVID. As a matter of fact, 3, 4, 5, 7 of them in the family contacted it and tested positive. They all got over it without any issues at all, except for my brother-in-law. He had touching pneumonia prior to coming in contact with COVID. Make a long story short, he spent over 2 months in the hospital, with at least 1 month of that being on a ventilator, and did not make it. He had a stroke during the time he was on a ventilator. He's about 75 years old, but he passed away back 1st of November. So all those events, like I say, kind of took the wind out of our sails. We had some good events and some not so good events, but I am back, and today's video, excuse the long introduction, but today's video I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to call this a how-to video. When I first started looking at machining as a hobby, remember I'm a semi-retired computer programmer, been doing that for well over 30 years, but I got to looking at a hobby, and machining looked like something I wanted to do. So a little over 4 years ago, I got some equipment. You've all seen that in my videos. But one of the things I did was go to YouTube videos and look how to do the basic operations. Turning, facing, threading on the mill, surface, face milling, all the various different basic functions. And it used to be rather easy to find videos on YouTube, fresh videos of some of the larger YouTube creators or more prominent ones. It was rather easy to find, like I say, fresh material where they would just stop everything they've been doing and show you how to do an internal thread or an external thread. Uh, don't see a lot of that as much now, not on the channels I follow. So what I want to do is just offer a little bit of my experience in doing something that's straightforward, but may not be easily understood by somebody that's not done it. If you're a machinist as a profession or a hobby, you know exactly what I'm about to do. What I want to do is take two pieces of material, a shaft. This is 5/8. You can pretend this is a line shaft or a shaft out of a motor, whatever. And then this piece of round stock that I picked up out of my remnant bin with a 5/8 hole in it. You can pretend that's a pulley, a gear, a clutch, whatever, what might need to fit over a shaft and be rigid to that. Occasionally you'll see where where the female portion is actually pressed onto the shaft. But for the most part, the way these two are set to drive together, one-on-one turn, is with a keyway. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to first take this piece of shaft and put it in the mill and mill out a keyway. We're going to use 3/16 for this. Then we'll go over to the press and we'll broach a matching keyway in this. Reason I want to do this first is if this doesn't fit, you can't easily take this in and out of the mill and get it back in exactly like it was to begin with. Broaching, you can. You can take your piece off, you can test it on the shaft. If it doesn't fit, you can go right back, put another spacer behind your bushing. Now before I do that, I want to position the camera over here on my broach set and explain a little bit of that and the various parts in it. All right, not sure if you can see it, but this is labeled as a number 10 set. This is what's known as a number 10 standard broach set. It comes with the broaches themselves. Let me get a few of these shims out of the way. But it comes with the broaches themselves. That's 4 pieces, 4 broaches. Then it comes with the sleeves, and each sleeve has the grooves in it. A number 10 set comes with some B size. B size is right here. And the broaches they use are about 190 thousandths wide. Whoops. But the B set includes a bushing for 1/2 inch, 5/8, 3/4, and 7/8. Now they use what's known as B, if you can, not sure if you can see that, B size broaches. And a number 10 set comes with a 1/8. That's the width of the teeth, and a 3/16. And the way these broaches work, that will slide through. Each one of these teeth is a little bit longer than the one before, and we'll see how that works when we get over later in the video, get over to the press. But as you can see, it's pretty much flush at the top there and gradually cuts more and more. A number 10 set also comes with a 1 inch, 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 3/8, and an 1.5 inch bushing. They use what's called a C, the letter C size broach. And this set includes a 1/4 inch, again, width of the teeth, and a 3/8. So for today's project, this is 5/8. We'll be using the 5/8 broach, the 5/8 broach, and the 3/16 keyway. And first thing we'll do is go to the mill and mill out this key, mill out the slot for the key. One more thing I forgot to mention about the broach set. What if you've got a hole that you need a bushing for that's not that size? Using the technique I'm fixing to do on the mill itself to mill the shaft, you can make your own sleeves, shims, bushings. I'm sorry, these are called bushings. This is a 14 millimeter that I needed in a project, and I made it for the same B size broaches. So this is a metric diameter with an imperial broach size, and then this one is I believe it was a 17 millimeter. Yes, a 14 millimeter and a 17 millimeter. So you can make your own, turn it on the lathe, and put your shoulder on there, and then mill out the groove on your milling machine to make your own bushings. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we're using a 3/16 inch keyway or key. I've got the workpiece in the mill vise now, and I've got it centered on the y-axis. We're going to come down now and just touch off, and then I'll zero out the z-axis DRO. All right, there's just touching. So I've zeroed out the DRO. Now we're going to come down to the end. All right, so I said this is 3/16, which is 0.1875. Half of that is 0.094, 94 thousandths. So we want at least half the depth of the key. It's okay if we go just a little bit over. I'm going to take this about, get to the positive side. I'm going to start with about 20 thousandths just to see what that's cutting like. And I'll be using the power feed that I added to the mill in the last couple videos. All right, that 20 thousandths looked all right. We'll go just a little bit more. With all that's been going on, I hadn't had a whole lot of time to get back out here and use this power feed, but so far I'm really liking it and it's working out well. If you haven't seen those videos, I encourage you to go back and look at those. Leaving a little bit of burr, or a right good sized burr up here at the top, but we'll take care of that in just a moment. All right, now we'll make our final cut. All right, that burr needs cleaning off on the top. And that's, bring it back up. Remember, I've got the DRO, the zero set on the y-axis, so I'm going to move this over just enough so that we're over where that burr is, and I'm going to come back and set my DRO, z-axis DRO back on the zero and run this. Going to run it down each edge and knock the burr off. I think we're finished needing any coolant on here. See, I can stand to go down just a little bit more. All right, now that broke most of that burr off the top up here, but it did turn some of that back into the inside. So I'm just going to go back quickly, set my set my y-axis back on 0, come back to the same depth we were before, which was the 94 thousandths, and I'm going to make a pass through here, and I think I'll probably need to offset just a little bit, because I know from past experience this 3/16 key stock I've got right here is just a little large. So I'm going to offset on the Y, 2 thousandths on this side, make a pass, and then we'll go down the other side as well. This end mill may be worn a little bit. I've cut a lot of 3/16 slots with this particular end mill. All right, I think we're finished with our slot in our shaft. You can see I still got a little deburring to do. I'll do that off camera. Now we'll meet over at the press and start broaching our keyway and our second piece. All right, here's a little better view of the shaft after we milled our keyway in it. Got all the burrs and the swarf off of it. So that goes onto our pulley, gear, clutch, whatever. And as you can see, we need a matching slot in this piece. And that's called a broach, or it's called broaching. So what we'll do is take that broach bushing that we looked at in the kit a while ago, the 5/8, place it in, then the broach itself, slide that into place in our hydraulic press. This is a air over hydraulic, so it may be kind of loud, and you may see some vibration in the floor as well. This is a wood floor shop. One of the keys to the life of your broach is being sure you got plenty of oil on it and keep it rust free when it's stored. All right, when this gets close to the bottom, you'll see me put my hand underneath. And what that's for is to catch this broach. These broaches are hardened, and they will break if they were to hit the floor just right. There's a cross member under the bottom of this, at the bottom of this press. I don't want it falling on. Well, all that planning and prep, and it still let it fall, but it didn't break, thank goodness. Now this is the kind of chip that you will get out of a broach. As you see, it kind of rolls up a little chip at each one of these teeth. Now that was the first pass with the broach. As you can see, it cut a slot in there, but it's nowhere near deep enough. And again, this is one of the nice things about broaching. You can take it out, put it back in, and line it up much easier than you could the shaft on the mill. Now what I'm doing now is putting a shim that's going to go behind the broach. Place the broach in again, lining it up. All right, and we'll make another pass through. It's always good to stop, release the pressure, come back again just to be sure everything is lined up here and nothing's in a bind. Now we'll see if we can pull that broach on through without dropping it this time. Each one of these teeth on the broach will cut a chip. Now let's see if we have enough of a slot or if we need another, or if we need to go with another bushing. I'll put the keyway in, or the key stock. And there it is. That one bushing was enough to mount it in, or to match it together. Let's go over to the workbench and we'll recap this little how-to video. Okay, to conclude this little how-to video, let's look again what we did on this piece of 5/8 round stock. We just simply went to the mill and milled out a slot, 3/16 to match our key stock. This could be done on probably on a shaper with it set up with the shaper bit cutting in. I think the mill is probably the simplest way to do that. Then we carried this piece over to the hydraulic press, the air over hydraulic press, and broached out a matching keyway over here. That two could be done with a shaper, probably with it turned down with something like a with a with a boring bar with a 3/16 cutter in it, going in and out to cut that slot. I have seen rigs on the lathe where you can mount this in, lock your spindle, and have a means of taking out just a couple thousandths at the time. This is probably taking out, well, for curiosity's sake, let's see what the difference between the shortest thread on here, or the shortest tooth, is 373 versus the long one, which is 425. So that's about 50 thousandths over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 teeth, 0.050 divided by 15. Each tooth is taking 3 1/3 thousandths off. So that's not a bad way to cut it at all with the hydraulic press. Of course, it doesn't have to be a hydraulic press. It could very well be a arbor press, a larger arbor press. But again, what we have, we've got the keyway, we've got the piece of key stock, and then we've got the broached piece here, and they will turn on a 1-to-1 ratio. They are tied together. So I hope this has been informative. As I said earlier, if you're a machinist or even a hobby machinist, you know what broaching is, you probably know how to do it, and you may have the setup to do it. If you're just watching this video for entertainment purposes, hopefully that showed you one way that a machine shop would mate together a pulley, a gear, clutch, whatever, to a shaft. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.